na nagbibigay daan sa kaligtasan at nagbubukas ng mga pintuan para sa pag-unlad ng pamayanan. Ang mga gusali ng paaralan na nagbibigay ng mas maliwanag na kinabukasan ng mga kabataan, housing projects at livelihood trainings na kung saan ay malaking tulong sa pag-unlad ng buhay ng bawat pamilya at marami pang iba. Ang SBDP ay isang tulay na patuloy na pag-unlad ng mga lugar na dating nasa ilalim ng kontrol ng CPP-NPA, mula sa mga infrastruktura hanggang sa mga proyektong nagpabago ng pamumuhay ng mga mamamayan. Ang SBDP ang naging daan upang ang mga komunidad ay naging mas maunlad, progresibo at mapayapa. Ito ay may malaking tulong sa layunin ng NTF-ELCAC at ng ating pamahalaan na tapusin ang insurhensiya sa ating bansa.
Alright, good morning everyone at magandang Tuesday morning po sa lahat ng ating mga kababayang sumusubaybay sa ating pong programa ngayong araw. At ito po ay isang very special episode ng Tagged Reloaded, Debunking Lies by Telling the Truth. At sa ating pong mga kapatid sa hanap buhay sa media, I know that this is going to be a very exciting episode for all of you. And why is it so special? Because we have with us today our principals, no? The major actors in the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. And our topic for today is also a very special one because we're going to talk about the Barangay Development Program, the flagship project of NTF-ELCAC. So we're going to know how the BDP or the SBDP changed the lives of our people, those who were subjected to long years of neglect, and those who suffered from the hands of the Communist Terrorist Group, New People's Army, Communist Party of the Philippines, and of course the National Democratic Front. So we have with us no other than our National Security Advisor, Secretary Eduardo Año, who is also the co-vice chairman of the NTF-ELCAC. Secretary Año will be joined in by another figure in NTF-ELCAC. And I'm talking about DILG Undersecretary Marlo Iringan, who's going to give us the nitty-gritty, the details about the SBDP since its inception a few years ago. And also joining us today is the Executive Director of the NTF-ELCAC Secretariat, Undersecretary Ernesto Jun Torres, and he's going to discuss to us later the ways forward. No? So what's next after these accomplishments, no? In relation to the SBDP? And of course, we have Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, who's going to give his inputs also with regards to not only the BDP but various ongoing and projects or programs or plans that are in line for everyone, for our people. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind our friends from the media that each of you is entitled to a question and, of course, a follow-up. And if you have questions, if you're not present physically here, where we are right now, you can send your questions via the various channels that we have provided to you. You may also send us directly, if you have our numbers, your questions, and we would gladly relay them to our resource speakers. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring to you, give the floor to our co-vice chairperson, Secretary Eduardo Año. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Joel. May I greet first Undersecretary Marlo Iringan from the Department of Interior and Local Government, Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya from the National Security Council, Executive Director Ernesto Jun Torres Jr., Assistant Director Rene Valera from the ELCAC Project Management Office of the ILG, members of the Defense Media Corps. Pleasant morning to everyone. Since its inception in 2020, the NTF-ELCAC flagship Barangay Development Program saw the emancipation of at least 3,000 barangays from the influence of the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army National Democratic Front. Today, thousands more are in line and longing to be finally freed from the clutches of this communist terrorist group that brought nothing but misery, death, and destruction to our fellow Filipinos in these once neglected and hard-to-reach areas. From the groundbreaking of the very first BDP project in 2021, I am pleased to announce that 5,293 BDP-related projects have either been completed, are being constructed, or are still in various stages of procurement. Step by step, brick by brick, we are fulfilling the NTF-ELCAC's avowed mission to bring the government closer to the areas formerly under the influence of the CTGs. But while we have done so much in delivering our promises of lasting and genuine peace and development, we firmly believe that a lot more still needs to be accomplished as we continue to strike at the very heart of the local communist armed conflict. Today, we would like to highlight the remarkable achievements of the BDP over the past 3 years under the Local Government Support Fund, Support to Barangay Development Program of the Department of Interior and Local Government. Of the projects I mentioned, 1,325 of them comprise farm-to-market roads, 557 water and sanitation facilities, 219 health stations, 201 school buildings, and 290 rural electrification projects. These numbers mostly cover fiscal years 2021 and 2022, since BDP projects for 2023 are still in the procurement process. In addition, other infrastructure and non-infrastructure projects were similarly undertaken. DILG Undersecretary Marlo Iringan is here to give you the details of the projects later. The COVID-19 pandemic, the election ban in 2022, and the subsequent changes in LGU leadership also hampered the implementation of some of these projects. But despite these challenges we will show today, we still managed to forge ahead. Beyond mere data and numbers, let us look beyond and find the true value of BDP in terms of thousands of kilometers of farm-to-market roads now being used by farmers and local folks. The thousands of young pupils who no longer have to conduct their classes under the shade of trees. The thousands of families who now have access to clean and potable water, health sanitation facilities, and electricity. For us, this is the true essence of BDP, to fill the huge gap left by years of government neglect and local communist opportunism. With our strides, we can now say that the BDP is indeed the most effective way to address the root causes of this long-standing communist insurgency. The BDP stands as a testament to excellent convergence efforts among the various agencies of government, both at the national and local levels. These tangible outcomes reflect good and responsible governance and the NTF-ELCAC's unwavering commitment to delivering the best results of our countrymen. Financial prudence is evident as well in fund disbursements over the years as we ensure that the allocated resources are used effectively and transparently for the benefit of those we serve and who deserve them. As we celebrate these notable achievements, we call upon our esteemed members of Congress to favorably consider and pass the budget of the NTF-ELCAC's flagship program for 2024. The BDP reflects the dedication of countless individuals, the resilience of communities, and the steadfast commitment of the NTF-ELCAC to fostering sustainable peace and development following the whole of government and whole of nation approaches in realizing our overall vision for a nation that is free and far from the threats of scourge of communist terrorism. We also urge our people and other stakeholders to continue helping us in this noble endeavor. Indeed, by supporting this crucial program, we invest not only in infrastructure, but also in the hope, stability, and lasting positive change in our country. Thank you very much, and once again, good morning.
Thank you very much, Secretary Año, the co-vice chairperson of NTF-ELCAC. And now, for his part, we'd like to call on Undersecretary Marlo Iringan for his brief presentation.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Of course, especially to the Vice Chair of the National Task Force to End Local Communities Armed Conflict, Secretary Eduardo Año, sir. Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, Executive Director Ernesto Torres Jr., ladies and gentlemen, especially the members of the media. This morning, it is my pleasure to share with you details of the project briefs about the Support to Barangay Development Program, which we started implementing in 2021. Secretary Año already mentioned about the numbers. In 2021, we covered a total of 2,319 projects for the SBDP 2021. In 2022, it covers a total of 1,719 projects, and in 2023, it's 1,514. Out of the projects that I mentioned, the number of projects that I mentioned starting in 2021, 83% are already completed, while the rest are still being implemented. In 2022, we already have a completion rate of 52%, and the others are also still being implemented. Out of the projects that I mentioned, a total of 773 kilometers of road were paved. Wow. And I refer to barangay roads. You can just imagine the impact of these 773 kilometers of barangay roads. Now our communities, the people in the communities can transport their produce easier to the markets and at a lower cost. The sick can now be easily brought to the clinics and hospitals, and more importantly, the children will now have a better an easier way of going to our schools, different schools. Aside from the farm to market roads that I mentioned, you can see the pictures in there. We make it a point that we take picture before and after the roads are implemented, so that we can see the difference, the impact of the projects that we build in our communities. Aside from the farm to market roads, barangay roads, we also were able to build 230 classrooms, and the others are still ongoing. When we were in Butuan early this year, we inaugurated a three classroom building. And we talked with the principal, and according to the principal, there are several classes, which use the covered court as classrooms. So it is very, very providential that during that time, the three classrooms were completed. So the classes which were done in the covered courts are now transferred to the classrooms that were completed through the Support to Barangay Development Program. Also, a total of 394 water supply system were completed, covering or benefiting 747,000 individuals. Now, these individuals will have better access to potable water, and which will make them less vulnerable to waterborne diseases. Aside from the water systems, we also completed a total of 195 health stations benefiting 455,000 individuals. So these health stations will bring health services closer to our people in the different communities. We also completed a total of 5,578 electric lights in the different communities, plus 1 or 2 electrification projects in some regions in the country. So these are some of the projects that we have already completed. More importantly, we make it a point that these projects are implemented accordingly, with faithful compliance or adherence to the provisions of Republic Act 9184 or the Procurement Act. So we make it a point that our LGUs would comply with the Procurement Act. Also, I would like to point out that the funds are not administered by the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. The funds are directly downloaded to our local government units. In 2021, the 16.4 billion fund was downloaded to the provinces, because during that time, the provinces were the implementing local government units. In 2022, the 5.624 billion were downloaded to the municipalities and cities, because as provided in the General Appropriations Act, the 2022, it's the cities and municipalities which are the primary implementing units of the support the Barangay Development Program. The same is true for 2023. These funds were directly downloaded to our cities and municipalities. So also, of course, we encountered, our LGUs encountered some challenges in the implementation of the projects, particularly in 2021 when we still had the pandemic, and also in 2022. But equally important are the challenges in the implementation of projects in far-flung areas in the barangays located in the highlands. Kasi napakahirap i-implement itong mga projects na ito. Plus, of course, I already mentioned a while ago that we make it a point that our LGUs comply with the provisions of Republic Act 9184. So yun yung mga ilan sa mga dahilan kung bakit may mga projects na hanggang ngayon ay ini-implement pa. But we assure you that there are no missing funds. The funds are there. If the funds are not utilized, for example, they are returned to the National Treasury. So maraming salamat at magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusek Marlo Iringan. Later on, mag-entertain po tayo ng mga questions from our friends in the media. So, at this juncture, I'd like to introduce to you the Executive Director of NTF-ELCAC, Undersecretary June Torres. Sir, for your ways forward and other plans.
Maraming salamat, Joel Egco. Muli, magandang umaga po. It is an honor and privilege for me to be seated alongside our NSA, Secretary Iringan, and ADG John Malaya. Indeed, BDP is a game changer in our campaign in ending local communist armed conflict. It is likewise a local peace engagement enhancer. And kami po sa NTF-ELCAC, one of our mandates is to harmonize the efforts of the different government agencies for them to contribute in ending local communist armed conflict. So dito po ay nakikita natin ang malaking tulong ng mga BDP natin in empowering communities. Because in the implementation of the BDP, yung mga communities that are involved, communities in far-flung areas, conflict-vulnerable areas, they are empowered in a way because they are consulted on what type of projects, what they need in the communities. These things, when implemented, are helpful in our campaign really because it takes away from the CTG yung mga issues that they use in recruiting the members of the communities to join the armed revolution. So BDP also supports the peace and development projects of the government together with projects kagaya ng sa TESDA sa barangay, and in some regions, yung convergence areas for peace and development. So all the different agencies are now contributing and prioritizing their projects in these conflict-affected barangays or BDP barangays. Siyempre, ang flagship niyan yung BDP barangays because these are very tangible and observable. But I'd like the public to know also that aside from these BDP projects, there are individual projects being implemented by all the government agencies. Ito, if you will check, if you will review and revisit yung EO 70 natin, Section 6 of that talks about convergence. So nakalagay dito, it is directing, the EO 70 directs all the departments, bureaus, agencies, offices, including other government instrumentalities, to even include GOCCs and the SUCs, or state and universities and colleges, lahat po sila are directed, no, to contribute to the effort in ending local communist armed conflict. It also, the EO70 also encourages the private sectors and civil society organizations to also contribute in the effort. So it is indeed a whole of government approach, whole of nation participation. But for the past 2 years, ang talagang very observable and tangible are these BDP projects, no? To include yung farm-to-market roads, school buildings, health centers, electrification, water sanitation, and other livelihood projects. So, paano natin ngayon masusustain yung yung BDP barangays? Considering that during its first implementation, the budget per barangay was 20 million. That's in 2021. In 2022, it was down to 4 million. Then for 2023, for this year, it is 6.606 million per barangay. It is very important for the public to know that these projects that were identified by the communities, no, should be implemented right now or immediately. Because pag hindi siya na-implement kaagad, no, it would remain as an issue that are being exploited, issues that are being exploited by the CTGs to recruit and to generate fund. So, to address that gap in funding, the President has issued a directive to all the government entities, no, to prioritize the implementation of their project, yung mga CSR nila, pati mga private organization, into these BDP barangays. So that way, yung mga hindi kayang pondohan from the national budget can be covered by the funds of the different agencies. For example, DepEd has so many numbers of school buildings, no, to be constructed for this year. So in their prioritization, they have to see to it that nandoon sa taas yung mga BDP barangays na school building which were not funded from the national treasury. So ang ating BDP barangay also, aside from the physical comfort that they are now enjoying because of its implementation, the more important part is that it made them feel that there is a government that truly cares for them. Tumaas po yung trust and confidence nila sa ating gobyerno, which inevitably resulted to more surrenders, more armed combatants going down from the mountains, no, and embracing peace already. Tapos sinasalo naman siya ng mga ICLIP program natin and rehabilitation and integration program. Yun nga, in sustaining the BDP programs, that is also part of our mandate, and it has to be made clear because during the past week, it was made, there's some reports saying that the NTF-ELCAC daw is handling the funding for the BDP. No, this is not so. The funds for the BDP projects are directly downloaded to the beneficiary local government, as stated by Yusek Iringan a while ago. So that's all for me at this point. I'll be very much willing to answer the question from our friends from the media as we go along in this press conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Undersecretary June Torres. At this point, I'd like to recognize Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya for his insights and other announcements.
Maraming salamat po to our National Security Advisor, Sir, Yusek Marlo Iringan, Executive Director June Torres, and to all our friends from the media, thank you so much for joining us in today's press conference. Let me just emphasize two things lang. Number one, that every year, the Makabayan Bloc would attack the Barangay Development Program, characterizing it as a pork, no, as a pork barrel of the National Task Force LCAC. I think the National Security Advisor and the rest of the panel today have made clear that the NTF is simply a coordinating body. And the Barangay Development Program is lodged with the LGUs themselves. Hindi po dumadaan dito, hindi po dumadaan sa National Security Council, sa NTF-ELCAC yung pondo. Ito po ay ibinababa diretso sa mga local government units. And it is the LGUs themselves and the barangays. It is the barangays themselves who choose what projects these are. So, because when we say pork, ang ibig pong sabihin yan, discretionary funds po yan, no? But hindi po ito ganun, no? The funds do not go through any of the agencies who are members of the National Task Force LCAC. In fact, they are downloaded directly by the Department of Budget and Management to the local government units, to the cities and municipalities, as explained by Yusek Marlo Iringan. The second point I'd like to raise today is the intrigue being sown by the Alliance of Concerned Teachers. No? The ACT party list has again shown to the public what it is good at. They're sowing intrigue. Instead of waiting for the full report of COA and the reply of the Office of the Vice President to their queries, the ACT party list has raised the threat of impeachment against the Vice President even before the details are available. This shows the political agenda of the ACT to always portray government in a bad light even before they get the complete picture. They do not wish to hear the side of the Vice President, are hoping that they can smear the VP in the court of public opinion on the basis of conjecture and speculation. Threatening the Vice President with impeachment 1 year into her term is a clear weaponization of the power of impeachment. It proves that the ACT party list is not and was never interested in getting to the facts. They are merely interested in getting as much political points they can get for the 2025 elections, no matter who gets in their way. Instead of weaponizing the power of impeachment, may we remind the ACT party list to go back what they're supposed to be doing, serve the teacher sector who they claim they represent in Congress. Instead of insinuating that it was government that was responsible for the March 22 bomb explosion in Masbate and not the NPA, ACT party list should instead bring the issues of the education sector to Congress. Instead of calling for peace talks with the communist terrorist groups, ACT party list should work with the Vice President and the DepEd to improve the quality of education in our country. Only then will the Filipino people truly believe that they represent the education sector in Congress and not the interest of those who wish to bring down government and our democratic way of life. Yun lamang pat, maraming salamat.
All right. Thank you very much, Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya. We now proceed to the question and answer, the open forum. So we have two questions, actually, a question and a follow-up from Jing Villamente of the Daily Tribune. The first being, I think this is best answered by NSA. It's about, as you mentioned, ADG Malaya, it's about the incessant calls, by the Makabayan Bloc, to defund NTF-ELCAC. Your thoughts on that matter, Secretary Año?
Thank you. Well, right from the inception of the NTF-ELCAC and the SBDP projects, yung call ng mga Makabayan Bloc to abolish the NTF is nothing new. No? Palagi na nilang sinasabi yan, palagi nilang ginagawa, especially during the budget hearing. But as you can see, debunking ELCAC would mean providing victory to the communist terrorist group because it will alienate the government from liberating these influenced barangays. So essentially, makita natin na anti-development ang Makabayan Bloc by calling the abolition of NTF-ELCAC and at the same time stopping the SBDP projects. So, dapat ang kanilang attitude is, sabi nila, gusto nilang tumulong sa mga mahihirap. This is the best way to show and prove na talagang ang kanilang interest ay helping the poor. these poor people from the influenced barangays, sabi nga natin, for the last more than 50 years, they had been neglected and they were denied of basic services and infrastructure projects, as well as livelihood programs. Now with the NTF-ELCAC convergence and projects to the SBDP, hindi lang nadala natin yung mga basic services at infrastructure projects, but we provided the opportunity for economic development and at the same time bringing a conducive environment to these people. And at the same time embracing peace and providing new life, especially for those surrenderies. So, dapat doon tayo sa truth. Ano talaga yung interest na bakit they're always calling for the abolition of the NTF-ELCAC. And we will not allow this to happen because once and for all, we want to attain the permanent and lasting peace and provide the best services to our people.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Año. Before I give the follow-up question, meron din, pa-standby ko lang si Yusek Torres about updates daw sa amnesty. So later. So yung follow-up question po ni Jing probably will be best answered by Yusek Iringan. It's about, as mentioned by NSA, there are already more than 3,000 barangays emancipated, no? But his question is, Yusek Marlo, is ilan ba talaga daw yung ating pang na-clear na and in the future, ilan yung total talagang barangays in the country na mabibiyayaan ng BDP? Parang siguro, sir, ang context, tapos na ba ito sa 2024 or continuing po ito?
Yes. The barangays that we targeted for 2021, which is 822. In 2022, which is 1,406. And in 2023, which is 859 barangays, are already cleared barangays. It was mentioned a while ago that there are already 1,570 cleared barangays. So the balance we'll be targeting for 2024 and beyond is 3,187. So mga 3,187 pa ang SBDP barangays, ang mga barangays which will be targeted for the provision of the support to Barangay Development Program in the coming years.
Okay.
And these the numbers came from the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Okay, sir. So, kasama na po diyan, factored in na yung 3,000 plus na binanggit ni NSA kanina. Is that on top of the 3,000 or factored in na po?
This is
For clarity.
separate. No, the 3,187 will be the barangays which will get support from the Barangay Development Program in the coming years.
Okay. So, double the, parang 3,000 just for clarity, 3,000 and another 3.
What we already covered is 3,878.
Okay.
That's 21, 22, and 23.
Okay.
But the 3,187 will be covered in starting 24 and beyond.
All right. Clear. Thank you very much, sir. Now for the hanging question for Edir Torres, yung update daw, sir, sa amnesty, which we announced, I think, last month.
Thank you, Joel, for that question. We've been attending conferences and meetings regarding the drafting of an amnesty proclamation. So at this point, there are versions, different versions. First, yung isa as to whether to have one unified amnesty proclamation for all the threat groups. And the other one is to have separate amnesty proclamation for the different threat groups. And I'm referring to the, of course, yung sa MNLF, MILF, and the other threat groups, including the CPP, NPA, NDF. The previous proclamations were being reviewed also because, as we all know, yung proclamation, amnesty proclamation with the MNLF, MILF, RPA, ABB, were already approved by former administrations, di ba? yung sa CTG lang ang naiwan. It is still in that process. Everything is being considered. But at the moment, we were informed that the National Amnesty Commission organization would be reconstituted so that they would be a part also in the reviewing of the final draft of the amnesty proclamation. But having said that, I would say that this is the key, no, a key towards really ending the communist insurgency in our country, because we see this proclamation, amnesty proclamation, particularly for the CPP, NPA, and DF, would be a very enticing factor for those still in the mountains, no, armed component of the CPP, NPA, and DF to reevaluate their stand. Because what they can see at the moment are programs, genuine programs of the government that they can be a part of, no, in lifting the conditions of the communities in far-flung areas, in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. And there are genuine programs also that is taking care of former rebels. From the time that they go down, they surrender to their rehabilitation, reintegration, and active participation in nation building. I have met a lot of cadres already in my time as a former military officer, no? And those high-value cadres are one in saying that they believe this program of the government that we are implementing now in truly serving the people. Sabi ko nga sa kanila, pare-pareho naman tayo, serving the people ang ating motto. So why not come and join us, no, in the implementation of this program? So with those very simple words, a lot of them really reevaluated their position, and ngayon kasama na po natin sila sa ating gobyerno. And I do hope that yung mga kapatid natin nandiyan pa rin ngayon sa kabundukan are listening to us right now and do the same. We have BDP, we have ECLIP, we have amnesty proclamations, and you have a government really that cares for your well-being. Magtulong-tulungan na po tayo. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek June Torres. Angel, if I may ask, do you have pending questions from your end? All right, okay. So we have one more. Probably this is going to be the last question. Yes, kindly introduce yourself.
Good morning, sir. It's Katrina Domingo from ABS-CBN News. Sir, the government has had a crackdown on teachers who are potentially infusing communist ideologies into their lesson plans, since it's the opening of classes today. May we know an update as to how many teachers have been apprehended and how many more are we looking at curbing?
First of all, we don't have any crackdown on teachers na including or putting terrorism or communism into their lesson plan or whatsoever. Wala tayong ganong crackdown, wala tayong ganong program. What we wanted is actually including the peace initiatives into the education sector, meaning to say what we want our children and our youth will be knowledgeable about peace initiatives and peace process. But walang ganyang crackdown against teachers.
Sir, safe to say that it was only propaganda of several leftist groups?
Well, dapat kasi i-check muna natin kung saan pinanggagalingan ng mga pronouncement nila. Sabi nga kanina ni ADG Jonathan Malaya na, like for example, for the SBDP, marami na silang sinasabi, pero hindi pa nila nakikita yung full report ng COA. At yung report ng COA actually ay hindi pa rin naman final, no? So we are all ready to our LGUs are ready for any audit, and we can always say na everything is done in according to the process and there is no missing fund. No. So many allegations from the Makabayan bloc or the leftist bloc, but it is to, sabi nga, no, dapat the burden of proof should be coming from them. No? They should be providing details, facts, information. Allegations alone will not stand. And sometimes it's not really advisable to answer any allegation because you're just actually, fanning the issue.
Sir, one more question from my end. Sir, how do we measure the effectiveness of the BDP? Do we actually have a count as to whether or not the recruitment of potential communist rebels have already decreased in the past 2 years?
Yes, first of all, the best gauge in how the SBDP are effective or not is asking the beneficiaries themselves, the people from the barangays. Kasi sila yung mismo magsasabi kung paano nabago ang buhay nila at paano gumanda, nagkaroon ng mga economic opportunities, agricultural production. Now, on the other aspect na kung sabi natin na kung paano siya nakakontribute sa reduction ng CPP-NPA, well, from the start of the NTF-ELCAC, we have 89 guerrilla fronts. We are able to clear 60 guerrilla fronts, and now there are only remaining 19 weekend guerrilla fronts and only 1 active. And the strength of the armed group is reduced to about 1,800 or less. So makikita natin, from the yung pinaka-highest number nila na 28,000 before, it's now down to 1,800, and there are a lot more coming to the fold of the law. At ang pinaka-nakita natin, sabi nga na game changer ay ang SBDP. I came from the military service before, from lieutenant up to naging general. I was involved in fight against the CPP-NPA, particularly in the field, and we did a lot of efforts there. Pero ang kulang yung SBDP. Because every time na matapos namin yung operation, even CMO or civil military operation, yung issues na sinisigawan ng mga NPA na walang karsada, walang eskwelahan, walang kuryente, nandun pa rin Pero ngayon, hindi na magawa ng NPA, ng CPP-NPA yan. Dahil pag pumunta sila sa mga dating barangay na under influence nila, may mga magagandang pamumuhay na yung mga tao doon at may mga karsada at eskwelahan na. So wala nang issue sila na magagamit doon. Pati yung ating mga magsasaka through the help of the Department of Agriculture ay naging more productive. So in other words, we focus on solving the root cause of insurgency in those areas rather than focusing on military solution or police solution. And we believe that this is really the best effective way to finally eradicate the communist insurgency.
Sir, just a follow-up question on the detail. Where is the 1 active guerrilla front located and where are the 19 weekend guerrilla fronts located?
Yung ating natitirang active guerrilla front ay sa Northern Samar, Northern Samar. At saka mayroong isang binabantayan natin dito sa Bicol area. Now, yung mga weekend guerrilla fronts ay 19 ito, meron tayo dito sa North Abra, meron sa Ilocos, meron sa meron pa rin tayo sa Southern Tagalog Regional Party Committee dito sa Mindoro. Meron pa rin tayo sa Negros, sa Panay. Meron tayo sa natitira dito sa Northern Mindanao, particularly sa area ng Port Division. At more or less, yun yung mga areas na mga naiwan natin. 19 na weekend guerrilla fronts.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Salamat. I think Yusek Ringen has something to add.
Yeah, may I add something to what Secretary Año said, no, with regards to the impact of the projects that we do. The beauty of the work that we do is that we get the opportunity to go down to the level of the communities, the beneficiaries of the support to barangay development projects. And when you get to talk to the people, you feel warmth in your heart, no, because of the testimonies that they give. Especially the old people, when they say that they thought they are going to die without seeing the roads being paved. They thought they are going to die without seeing any doctors going to the barrios or to the barangay. So these are things that add value to the work that we do. And to my mind, these are positive effects or impacts of the benefits of the support to barangay development program. I would like to also to add that in the monitoring and evaluation of the SBDP, we engage third-party monitors, and they come from NGOs and the RCSOs. And the assessment is that these projects are implemented accordingly, and these projects provide or respond to the needs of the people in the barangay. So these are, I to believe, positive manifestations that we are doing right now insofar as the SBDP is concerned. We are highlighting SBDP here, the projects being implemented, but I also would like to highlight the process with which these projects are identified. At nabanggit na ito kanina ni Executive Director Jun Torres, the retooled community support program that we have done in the past years, particularly in the effort to have an honest to goodness conversation and consultation with the people in the barangay, so that from their end they will be able to identify the development gaps that will have to be addressed by the government. So these development gaps, through the development gaps, we are able to identify the development projects that will have to be implemented. And these are the projects that are now being funded through the Support to Barangay Development Program. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Yusek Torres, additional input.
Yes, sir. Just to give a brief input also regarding BDP. We can say that lasting peace and genuine progress can only be attained if no one is left behind. And BDP provides this opportunity for all of the communities, particularly in far-flung areas, in geographically isolated and disadvantaged area, not to be left behind. Because in those areas, a lot of facilities are wanting. Walang daan, walang eskwelahan, walang health stations, walang ilaw, walang tubig. And these are the 5 core projects na hinahatid natin sa mga BDP barangays. But not only that, they participate in the actual implementation. So whole of government approach, in the actual implementation of the project, meron pong may yung ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, yung cash for work, yung mga ganon, and other programs of the government that comes into play towards the implementation of the project. So nagkakaroon ng livelihood yung mga tao doon. They learn also from the experience. Bayanihan spirit was enlivened dun sa area. So that's why I mentioned a while ago, BDP is so much a part of local peace engagement because they do not just see, but they even feel the importance of really coming together in uplifting the conditions of our countrymen living in far-flung areas. That's why, yung tanong kanina, we were able to do the almost impossible since the establishment of NTF-ELCAC in December 4 of 2018. So, less than 5 years po. Again, kung nasa serbisyo po kami, swerte na yung isang taon na may 2 guerrilla front na dismantle. Because in dismantling 1 guerrilla front, you need to clear probably 50 to 100 barangays. And it is not easy to clear just a single barangay. Because when we say clearing a barangay, hindi lamang armed component. Pati yung politico-military structure niyan has to be addressed, or eliminated. Barangay-based institution has to be established. Barangay intelligence net has to be established also. Integrated territorial defense system dapat nandiyan. and may makapacitate yung mga local chief executives sa area before clearing a certain barangay. One barangay lang yon. Ano po naging tulong ng BDP? Yung trust and confidence, kaya nawalan na sila ng mass base nila. So of the 89 na guerrilla fronts, 68 were dismantled. So 21 na lang po yung naiiwan. Yung 19 na weekend, ibig sabihin wala na silang matataguan na mass base nila. So it's just a matter of time kung tuloy-tuloy pa rin po yung mga ganitong efforts natin in making the community really feel that they are part of the government, hindi na sila makaka-recover. So focus military operation tayo dun sa 2 remaining guerrilla fronts, one in Northern Samar, and ito, bago lang kasi na-review, this is just to show that we are constantly reviewing yung ating situation on the ground. Doon sa Bicol, siguro naman na napapakinggan ninyo, in the recent past, medyo nagkaroon ng mga occurrences doon ng mga armed encounters, ganyan. So, nagkaroon tayo ng isang active guerrilla front sa Bicol. Pero nawala naman yung sa Northern Samar because there used to be 2. I think 2 months ago, 2 active guerrilla fronts in Northern Samar. Na weekend na yung isa, baka tumawid sila, magkalapit lang naman po yun. No?
Tama.
So yung 19 na weekend barangay ngayon, 6 sa Luzon, 7 sa Visayas, at 6 sa Mindanao. So hopefully ay ma-dismantle. And our pledge cluster, yung peace, law enforcement, and development and security cluster natin, they are very much confident that towards the end of this year, most of the weekend guerrilla fronts would be dismantled also. And then based on our timeline, by 2025 ay wala na tayong kino-confront na guerrilla front, and we would be focusing really on peace and development effort. So kami po sa NTF-ELCAC, National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. So it's just quite obvious from the title of the organization alone that our focus for the past 4 years na nakapag-dismantle tayo on the average of 17 guerrilla fronts per year, which was parang seemingly impossible before. But because of this mechanism that we have now, whole of government approach, whole of nation participation under the ambit of good governance, it is really working very, very well. So with that, we would be, yung sagot na rin siguro sa unang mong tanong kanina, yung way ahead natin, yung roadmap natin, we would be proposing for a shift in our focus on unity, peace, and development in the coming, it may not be this year, but probably in the coming years of this administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusek Jun Torres. Angel, from your end. We have from Q Asia.
Just a follow-up po regarding doon sa BDP. Regarding sa confidence level na yung mga projects po natin sa mga barangay will not be in any way ma-targeted or sabotaged by the CTG, especially on the active CDG fronts, let's say Bicol or Samar. Meron po tayong mga projects. Yun po, follow-up lang po doon.
Oo. Kasi yung mga target, yung mga BDP barangays natin were previously influenced barangays that were already cleared. So sustainment effort yung BDP. And part of the process in clearing a particular barangay is the establishment, kagaya na binanggit ko kanina, of integrated territorial defense system. Meaning, nagtutulong-tulungan po yung mga uniform and non-uniform civilian community in the area to really protect their barangay. And part of that is also the establishment of Barangay Intelligence Network, which can provide vital information to drive away not only CTGs, but even criminals going into the, even drugs actually, lahat ng mga threats sa community may be addressed by this mechanism. So we can be sure, ma'am, na pag in-implement na po and the monitoring evaluation system, kahit kami po sa NTF-ELCAC, we are also a part of that monitoring system, then third-party monitoring system pa, sir. So there are a lot of checks just to see to it that the implementation of the projects are properly being carried out. Yung sa security sector naman, yun ang nabanggit ko kanina, nagtutulong-tulungan po ang community in the security sector to see to it na ma-implement sa lalong madaling panahon at sa magandang paraan yung mga BDP projects po natin. Kaya po sana ay masuportahan po natin itong another batch natin ng BDP Barangay for 2024. Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Okay, thank you for the question and thank you, Yusek Torres. We actually had 3 pending questions, the same, nasagot na rin kanina. Oo nga. So, all right, so before we end, I think that's about it, no? That ends our open forum. I have this one last question na lang for any of our guest resource persons, our officials there. Budget season na daw po. So, how ready are we to defend the BDP in Congress?
Well, first of all, no, just like the previous years, we are always ready to present and defend the budget to Congress and to Senate. As previously stated, ito ay hindi pork barrel fund because these are itemized or budget line items. Bawat barangay na lalagyan ng BDP funds ay talagang dumaan sa tamang proseso mula doon sa pag-survey ng kailangan ng barangay, pag-desisyon nila, pagsama doon sa local development program nila, going up and vetted also by the NTF-ELCAC ay may proseso yan. So we are very much confident that we will be able to defend the budget for 2024, a total of 864 barangays for 2024. At makikita naman doon sa mga previous allocation from 2021, 2022, 2023, kahit anong oras yan i-audit, i-inspect ng ating COA o kahit ng ibang third-party audit group, nakita natin kung saan pumunta yung mga pondo dyan. At kung meron mang makikitang butas dyan, we are also ready to file case to any of the LGUs who would not be able to justify the disbursement or spending of fund. No? We are very much transparent here because what is at stake are what is good for our people.
All right. Thank you very much. Very well said, Secretary Eduardo Año, the co-vice chairperson of the National Task Force and Local Communist Armed Conflict. So before we finally end and conclude this episode of TAG, we'd like to get each of our guests' parting message to our people. Let's start with ADG Malaya.
Thank you, Partner Joel. I'd just like to echo what Secretary Año said. No? We seek the support of Congress this coming budget season for the approval of the budget proposal for the Barangay Development Program. Let me just emphasize that the budget was never held by NTF-ELCAC. No? The budget is a line item budget in the DILG budget, but it is directly released to the local government units. So, as we have explained here today, the Barangay Development Program is a critical component in the government's program to end local communist armed conflict. And we hope that our senators and good congressmen will continue to support the BDP project in the years to come. Marami pong salamat.
All right. Thank you very much, ADG Malaya. Yusek Torres, for your parting message.
Thank you once again, Joel, for having me here. Siguro masasabi natin na abot kamay na natin yung ating minimithing kapayapaan, kaligtasan at kaunlaran. And the continuous implementation of the BDP programs, nakita naman po natin, it uplifted the conditions of our brothers and sisters living in far-flung communities, needy communities. Huwag po nating ipagkait sa kanila yung pong ganitong opportunity to uplift their conditions and improve their lives. So, suportahan po sana natin, nakikiusap po tayo sa ating mga mambabatas to once again support the implementation of the BDP Barangay for 2024. Para po tayo ay patuloy na makapagtulungan at ma-realize natin yung ating ambisyon na magkaroon ng isang matatag, maginhawa at panatag na pamumuhay para sa lahat ng Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
All right. Thank you very much, Yusek June Torres. And Yusek Marlo Iringan for your message po.
Thank you very much, Director. No, of course, the government is truly committed to the pursuit of peace and development in our country, particularly in the previously CTG-affected barangays. And we can only do this if the honorable members of Congress will continue to support the provision of fund for the support of Barangay Development Program. For the 864 barangays targeted for 2024, we already have the list of the priority projects of these barangays. Gathered through an honest-to-goodness consultation with the members of the community. So we are ready to provide the House of Representatives and the members of the Senate a copy of the list of projects. And we hope that, again, for 2024, the funds we are asking for will be provided in the General Appropriations Act. Maraming salamat.
Okay. Maraming po salamat, Undersecretary Marlo Iringan. And now, last but not the least, our main principal, our boss, NSA, National Security Advisor, Secretary Ed Año.
Thank you, Joel. First of all, let me take this opportunity to extend our congratulations and gratitude to the members of the National Task Force to end the local communist armed conflict. Yung mga agencies, uniformed services, and our local government units who are silently working for the success and to finally end this communist insurgency. And also let me thank stakeholders, particularly the media, for participating today and bringing out and helping us to tell the truth to our people on what the government is doing to finally finish this communist insurgency. And finally, of course, our strong appeal to the members of the Congress and Senate to please support us and provide funds for the SBDP for 2024. It's not only that we are going to uplift the lives of our people in those isolated and influenced barangays once under the control of the CPP-NPA, but we are now in the point of history that we are really going to finish this long menace of insurgency, and finally we'll be able to have a peaceful and progressive country. Thank you, and
All right. Thank you very much.
good morning.
Thank you very much po, National Security Advisor and NTF-ELCAC Vice Chairperson, Secretary Ed Año, for your message. So malinaw po mga kababayan, ang ating mensahe ngayong araw na ito, ang BDP ay isang game changer, at ito po ay hindi lang game changer, it is also a life changer for thousands of families and Filipino individuals who benefited from it. So our call is that for everyone to support it, Congress, Senate, and of course our various local government officials, and those who may have benefited from it or those who are not, because we are all part of the solution. And this is the government's redemption for years, long years of neglect that led our communities in far-flung areas astray and at the mercy and tyranny of the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, National Democratic Front. So that ends our special episode today of Tag Reloaded, Debunking Lies by Telling the Truth. Join us again po next week for another exciting episode of Tag. And with that, I'd like to thank the Radio TV Malacanang for your support, and of course, the National Security Council for having us here. Maraming po salamat. Good morning. Mabuhay po kayo lahat.